made it to Larnaca on the southeast coast of Cyprus, and absolutely thrilled to be back here. Just to be back in the Mediterranean world. I came here in 2019, before the pandemic, in the midst of what turned out to be a round the world trip. And I met this really friendly Armenian family that own these holiday apartments, which apparently are quite busy in the summer. And they're very basic and absolutely perfect. And I really kind of like their vibe. So I told them I'd be back. I didn't know it would take 4 years, but but here I am. This is where my trip really gets going in earnest. There's a presidential election here this weekend, and I really want to kind of delve into some of the politics, also some of the absolutely incredible food and the comparatively better weather. So let's do it. So here in the heart of Larnaca is the 9th century Church of Saint Lazarus. Lazarus is a New Testament figure who was a disciple of Christ, who, after he had died, was resurrected 4 days later in a miracle as performed by Christ. And Lazarus was under threat by elites in Judea and ended up fleeing here to the island of Cyprus, where he lived for another 30 years and became the bishop of ancient Kition, which is the original name of modern-day Larnaca. The church has been partly wrecked, partly destroyed, rebuilt. It was used as a mosque at one point during Ottoman rule. You can see the bell tower behind me was actually rebuilt in a Latinate style. So Lazarus, pictured here above me, was reputed to be an unsmiling, stoic man, which is very befitting because Stoicism actually originated with Zeno of Kition, who was a philosopher based here in ancient Larnaca. And the Stoicism that he fathered was based on cynicism. One of the most fascinating aspects about Cyprus is it's where the ancient world, or perhaps you could say the pagan world, meets Christendom. It's a place where the histories kind of collide, perhaps even overlap. One thing I love about the Eastern world is just how strikingly different its version of Christianity is from the Roman Catholicism that I was raised with. I mean, just this iconography is just gorgeous. And it brings together a whole realm from Ethiopia to Egypt to Russia and Ukraine, Bulgaria. It's stunning. It's incredible just how many civilizations have been through Cyprus over the centuries. I mean, it was part of, as I mentioned, the ancient Hellenic world. Then it was part of early Christendom as an exclave of the Holy Land. And so many peoples have been through here, from Crusaders to Arab conquest to Ottomans, Venetians, Franks. It's incredible. Here in the heart of Larnaca, you can see there is a disused mosque above me with the minaret seems to have been lopped off. But there's just so much history here. Just walking around these streets, you can stumble upon all sorts of old structures mixed with new. And this former mosque is in the middle of this ultra-modern plaza. So the contrasts here are really stark. So here's a quick fabled city install I did here in the heart of Larnaca on a very old abandoned building, and it's an analog print of a canyon called Spooky Gulch in southern Utah in the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. Cyprus, as we call it in English, is known as Kypro in Ellinika, i.e. Greek, Kybris in Turkcha, Turkish, Obros in Arabi, as in Arabic. And I just learned this morning from my Armenian hosts, it is Gibris in Hayastani, Armenian. So Cyprus, it's portrayed as sort of this frozen conflict between two communities, but it's so much more than that. Quite a vibrant little cafe life here in the city center. I love that. I love the idea of just sitting outdoors and having conversations. I love the energy. Cyprus has been divided in a military sense for close to 50 years since the civil war ended and Turkish intervention in August of 1974. And it's really hard to see a way forward for the island. There's a sort of a macabre nickname for the island, which is the diplomat's graveyard, because even the best of sort of internationalists haven't been able to solve the so-called Cyprus problem. Many have tried, all have failed. Another interesting aspect about Cyprus's position in the world is that despite the inherent instability from the frozen conflict here on the island, it's actually a bastion of stability in a region that includes Lebanon, Syria, Israel and Palestine, the economic crisis in Turkey, and so forth. Cyprus, both as an island and as a society, is most often talked about in binary terms. Turks in the north, Greeks in the south. Part of the EU, part a pariah state supported and occupied militarily by the Republic of Turkey. But upon just even a cursory closer inspection, Cyprus is not a binary place. It's more of like a Lebanese-style mosaic. Armenians, Arabs, Jews, all types of people are here. Tons of economic migrants from West and Central Africa, a staggering amount. South Asian economic migrants. You've got genuine war refugees from Iraq and Syria. You've got political asylees from other farther flung places. So Cyprus it's so much more complex than it's said to be. In diplomatic speak, the official sort of UN-style solution is for what's known as a bizonal, bicommunal federation, which is a way of reunifying Cyprus while integrating it into the larger Euro-Atlantic architecture. On the Turkish side, however, they talk about a two-state solution. So it's sort of, Cyprus is a very, very intractable problem along the lines of Palestine or Kashmir, where it's just completely irreconcilable. But just the human geography on the island, to me, is absolutely fascinating. It's so much more than just Greeks and Turks. In terms of talking about the ethnic and linguistic diversity here on the island, I nearly left out the Russians, who've made a home here for quite some time, since the 1990s. Recent Ukrainian arrivals, who are war refugees, and economic migrants from Romania, Bulgaria, and other places in the former Eastern Bloc. So there are a ton of languages being spoken on the streets here in Larnaca. One of the many aspects that I absolutely love about this place is the architecture, especially the juxtaposition of so many different styles. I love these dilapidated apartment buildings along the waterfront. And then as well behind me, you have a former Ottoman mosque. If I could ever own a home, if I was ever that fortunate, which I don't think I ever will be, I've always wanted to have a house like this kind of 1980s style Miami Vice architecture. Lots of angles and lines and very boxy. Just something entirely modern in kind of a 1970s, 1980s sense. I love how just tidy and cool it is. I'm here at the edge of the Salt Lake, and off there in the distance, I'm seeing flamingos, and I don't think I have ever seen flamingos in real life. Unless I've maybe seen them at a zoo as a child and I don't remember it. I'm just wondering if I can get close to any of them to photograph them with my long lens. Let's see. Well, in trying to remember how to reuse my camera, which I have not shot with since I was in Syria about 4 years ago. So I got some images of the flamingos, but they're not great. Using the digital zoom, definitely couldn't get that iconic image of the one isolated flamingo. But I'm going over here to another colony of them to try my luck with those ones. The ones I was trying to shoot, they're in a huge cluster. And so it's kind of hard to get a photo of one isolated one, but this beach is beautiful. The light's not great, but just kind of nice to be here. It's right on the edge of the city. It was only a 30-minute walk from the city center. It's a gorgeous little nature preserve around here. I'm actually glad that I came to check out these flamingos just to see the greenery. Trying to see if I can get a better DSLR shot of the flamingos. I don't know if I can. I'm going on sort of a goose chase, or I guess you could call it a flamingo chase. But I'm kind of taken aback by just the nature here is wicked. This place it's really, really cool just to walk around. The flamingos are kind of an excuse to be here, actually. So they have this little observation post here where you can just kind of sit and watch the flamingos from a distance. It's really cool. And it's a great place to rest your back if you've been walking up and down the beach for a while. Here on the edge of the Salt Lake, there is what appears to be a whole cat colony. Apparently, this massive crane here was meant to build an apartment tower that had something to do with the golden passport scheme that wealthy Russians were using, the citizenship by investment, whereby if you invested 2 million euros into the Cypriot economy, you could get a Cypriot passport, which would allow you access to the entirety of the European Union. So you could go and you could buy a flat here and then go live in Paris or Berlin or what have you. So apparently when that scheme ended and the connections between the oligarchy were divulged after an investigation, I think by Al Jazeera, this project just came to a dead stop. After a super interesting several days here, I'm off to the holiday flats where I've been staying, where they kindly let me leave my bags, and I'm going to hike down to the main bus station on the beach and head to Nicosia.